Hi there, we're continuing. This is called California. Where we left off is here. It says Mission San Diego de Alcala was established by Father Junipero Serra in 1769. It is California's oldest church. Mission is a place where people teach their religion to others. Presidios, missions, and pueblos. In 1769, Spain sent a military expedition into California, led by Gaspar de Portola. The group included a Roman Catholic padre or priest, Father Junipero Serra. They were to build presidios or military forts along the coast to protect settlers. They were also to build missions. There the padres would convert the Native Americans to Christianity and teach them farming, ranching, and various trades, as well as the Spanish language. They turned north from Mexico, some by ship and some overland. In the sweltering heat, with no road to follow, the travelers hacked out a trail as they went along. It was a rough journey, and many died along the way. Finally, they reached San Diego. There, in July 1769, Father Serra established Mission San Diego de Alcala, and Portola built a presidio. Portola is the one who led them to the expedition. And the priest's name is Junipero Serra. The Gaspar de Portola. Okay, this was the first Spanish settlement in present-day California. At first, there were only a few isolated missions. Eventually, the Spanish built a chain of missions in California. The trail that connected them was called El Camino Real, Spanish for the King's Highway. By 1823, there were 21 missions linking the coast and 4 presidios. Presidios are forts. In addition, the Spanish government encouraged a few hundred settlers to move to California and build small towns or pueblos. These pueblos would grow to become some of California's largest cities, such as Los Angeles and San Jose. Junipero Serra is California's most famous missionary, born in Spain. Junipero Serra, born 1713, was a Roman Catholic priest. It was Serra's dream to become a missionary, and in 1750, he was sent to New Spain to work among the Indians. He founded the first 9 California missions before his death, and others carried on after him. In 1988, the Catholic Church beatified Serra, which is a step toward official sainthood. This caused controversy among those who believed the mission system was cruel and destructive. Mission life. The missionaries believed they were serving God by bringing Christianity and European education to the native people. But the Native Americans did not necessarily want or need a new way of life forced on them. The centerpiece of a mission was the church with its tall bell tower. Other mission buildings were workshops, kitchens, sleeping quarters, and storehouses. All were built around a square courtyard. Surrounding the mission were vast lands for grazing cattle and sheep and for growing fruits and vegetables. The trail linking the missions, once again, is El Camino Real. It became the route of California Scenic Highway 101. Native American women and children made goods for the missions, such as baskets and rope. In the missions, Native Americans worked hard and had to follow strict rules. Everyone was taught a trade that contributed to mission life. Men learned to make bricks and wine, to shoe horses, and to turn animal hides into leather. They constructed buildings and tended to cattle and fields. Women wove cloth, made pottery, washed clothes, and cooked meals. Cloth weaving, pottery making, washing, and cooking. Many missions became thriving communities. They sold goods to Spanish traders, who filled their ships with hides, animal fat, and leather goods from the missions. All profits went to mission communities and none to individual Indians, no matter how hard they worked. While the missionaries may have thought they were improving the lives of the Indians, many Native Americans had a wretched time in the missions. They labored long and hard with little or no reward. The punishments for breaking mission rules could be severe. The missionaries believed that Indians needed to live at the mission so they wouldn't forget what they were learning about Christianity. But the Indians couldn't understand why they had to stay. Some Indians escaped only to be captured, returned to the missions, and then beaten. Other Indians fought back. In 1775, Indians attacked the San Diego mission. Soldiers from the Presidio quickly put down the revolt. Mission life was tough, but disease was even tougher. Smallpox, influenza, and even the common cold could infect hundreds and wipe out entire communities. Before the Spaniards arrived, as many as 300,000 Indians lived in California, but thousands died of diseases the Spaniards brought. Others died in conflicts with Spanish soldiers. By 1840, only about 100,000 Indians survived. And for most, their ancient languages and cultures were lost. In the Spanish mission, if you were a Native American child living in a Spanish mission, you probably would attend a mission school. There you would learn Spanish, which was very different from your own language. You would be taught Christianity, which was different from your own spiritual beliefs. In your spare time, you might play traditional Indian games such as stickball. But life in the missions was hard. You would see your family change. Your parents would no longer have control over your life. Instead, the missionaries would. Traditional healers could not treat the new diseases. For you and the other children, it was confusing and a difficult time. What is the oldest building in California? The oldest building is in California that's still in use today is the Serra Chapel at Mission San Juan Capistrano. It was built in 1776. Spain, people were growing tired of Spanish rule. They fought the Mexican Revolution and won independence in 1821. However, California became part of Mexico. Now free of Spain, Mexican officials wanted to end the missions. In 1834, Mexico began seizing the missions and shutting them down. Mission lands were divided up and given to leading Mexican citizens. With no reward for their labors, the Indians were sent on their way. Some worked for the new landowners, while others tried to return to their traditional homelands. After less than 70 years, the mission system had come to an end. Today, many missions, chapels are active Catholic churches and have museums that are open to the public. In 1852, after California became a U.S. territory, more than a dozen treaties were put into place that set aside 8.5 million acres throughout the state for the remaining Native Americans to live on. What happened then is somehow the U.S. Senate lost the treaties, so the Native Americans lost their land. It was not until 1906 that these papers were found again. More than 50 reservations were set up for the Native Americans, but most reservations are in places that are so dry, isolated, and desolate that no one wants to live there. Today, California has more than 100 government-recognized reservations. As of July 2004, there were 687,400 Native Americans and Native Alaskans living in California, more than in any other state. By 1850, the population of LA, Los Angeles, shown here, had grown to 1,610. How Los Angeles began. How did the thriving city of Los Angeles come to be? In 1781, King Carlos III of Spain decided that a town should be built on the site of a beautiful river, what is now known as the LA River. The new governor of California, Felipe de Neve, drew up plans and gathered some Mexican and African American families to settle there. These settlers, 11 men, 11 women, and 22 children, gathered on September 4, 1781 at San Gabriel Mission. Along with a military escort and 2 mission priests, they set out for the site. The little town received the name El Pueblo de Nuestra Señora Reina de Los Ángeles sobre el río Porciúncula. The town of Our Lady, Queen of the Angels on the Porciúncula River later became known as Los Angeles. So it was called El Pueblo de Nuestra Señora Reina de Los Ángeles sobre el río Porciúncula. Which is like a sentence, not the name of the city. So that's that. This is showing the Chumash Reservation. All I see is grass and trees. Many of the reservations created for Native Americans were located in dry and isolated areas. Okay. growth and change, starving and in tattered clothes, the first organized U.S. settlers arrived in California from Missouri in 1841. Some were on horseback, others were on foot, their wagons left far behind. They were chasing rumors of rich farmland spread by early adventurers. So the first settlers came from Missouri in 1841, reaching California by land. So in the years 1850 through 1860, the California population increased by more than 300%. In 1846, the Bear Flag Revolt takes place. 1848, gold is discovered at Sutter's Mill. 1850, California becomes a state. 1869, the Transcontinental Railroad is completed. 1890, California's population exceeds 1 million. The Transcontinental Railroad. When the first U.S. settlers came, California was still part of Mexico. There were no roads and no cities. No one knew there would be gold here. It took a lot of courage to make this journey. Some of the new explorers were mountain men, rough outdoorsmen, who had the necessary skills for surviving the harsh conditions of the wilderness. The seemingly endless acres of forested mountains in the west were teeming with fur-bearing animals. Fur companies wanted those pelts and were more than happy to hire these mountain men to get them. News about California spread soon after the first pioneers arrived. Reports said the place had a great climate and that land was free for the taking. The people in the East and Midwest, California seemed like the perfect place to live. Settlers soon loaded up their wagons and headed west. As the first organized group of settlers arrived in California in 1841, many others followed, attracted by stories of California's terrain and climate. Okay, Jedediah Smith, since 1799, born, covered more territory than any other mountain man of his time. He explored the Rocky Mountains, the Sierra Nevada, the Mojave Desert, making trails that future travelers would follow. While he and his men were walking through the desert, the heat would become so intense that they couldn't stand it. They would bury themselves in sand to keep cool until the sun began to set and the temperatures dropped. Wow. If you want to know more, there's a link xroads.virginia.edu is the link. xroads.virginia.edu. Then a bunch of slashes. You don't want to know. While some made the journey by ship, many of California's first U.S. settlers crossed thousands of miles of rugged terrain by wagon. James Beckwourth, trailmaker. African-American James Beckwourth, born 1798, was one of the first mountain men to publish colorful stories about his experiences. Born in Virginia, he headed west and worked as a guide for fur traders and the U.S. Army. Captured by Crow Indians, he spent nearly 8 years with them, rising to the level of war chief. By the time of the gold rush, he had forged a trail that he advertised as the lowest and easiest path across the Sierra Nevada. Thousands of gold seekers traveled what is still known as Beckwourth Pass. The link to find out more is www.beckwourth.org/trail. Beckwourth is BECKWORTH.org/trail. This is showing the settlers migrating east to west. So, the settlers soon loaded up their wagons and headed west. Whether they knew how to get to California or not, as one traveler wrote, they had no guide, no compass, nothing but the sun to direct them. While the pioneers fought incredible odds to make their journeys, Native Americans were affected terribly by the westward expansion. As more and more newcomers arrived, the Native Americans saw their land and their way of life taken away. They were pushed out or killed, or by guns or disease. That's not enough. Mariano Vallejo was imprisoned by rebels for 2 months following the Bear Flag Revolt. He later served in California's first Senate. It says on June 1846, American rebels demanded that California be free from Mexican rule. They then raised the Bear Flag in front of the Mexican governor's home. The Donner Party. It was the winter of 1846 to 1847, and a group of families from Iowa and Illinois were on their way to the promised land of California. They took a wrong route. Then their oxen died of thirst or ran away in the Salt Lake Desert. Nearly out of food and water, they paused to rest in the Sierra Nevada. Then it began to snow. The group's journey was doomed. Trapped by the snow, they starved. The rest of the story is unimaginably gruesome. Of the 89 pioneers who started the trip, only 48 survived. About half. You can read all about it in the diaries of Patrick Breen, a member of the Donner Party, so named because the Donner family was among the group. Breen kept a record of his experience. You can see his diary at www.pbs.org/donor/sfeature/sf_html. Down on the rancho. Native Americans weren't the only ones living in California when the U.S. settlers arrived. There were many Mexicans and people of Spanish descent. Many Mexicans lived in huge farms called ranchos. Juan Francisco Dana grew up on a California rancho. His family's land near Mission San Luis Obispo had once belonged to Spain. Dana's rancho covered 38,000 acres. Each rancho family lived in a house called an adobe. They grew crops and raised thousands of sheep and cattle. The sheep produced wool and meat. Cattle yielded meat, hides, and tallow. The tallow was made into soap and candles. Many of the rancho workers were Native Americans who cooked, planted the crops, and cared for the ranch animals. Grizzly bears were so numerous that scarecrows were put up in the fields to try and scare them away. Adobe means bricks made of sun-dried clay. Also, a house made with these bricks. Tallow means hard fat from the bodies of cattle or other animals, which is made soap and candles, or used to make soap. The Bear Flag Revolt. Settlers from all parts of the U.S. started pouring into California. In many ways, it seemed like paradise, but many of the people were not happy with certain elements. The U.S. settlers believed that the Mexican landowners, known as Californios, had already claimed much of the best farmland. The Mexicans were not happy either. They were there first and wanted the U.S. settlers to go away. On June 14, 1846, 33 Americans pounded on the front door of Mexican Governor General Mariano Vallejo's house. They demanded that he surrender to them because they wanted California to be free of Mexican rule. To their surprise, Vallejo opened the door wearing his uniform and asked them in for breakfast. The group was further shocked when Vallejo agreed that California should be independent from Mexico. But they did not trust the man, so they arrested him and sent him to Sutter's Fort to be watched over carefully. Once he was gone from the house, the rebels were not sure what to do next. Should they loot the governor's house? One of the leaders discouraged the idea, saying, "Choose ye this day what you will be. We are robbers or we must be conquerors." This was the beginning of the independent California Republic. William Todd, nephew of the wife of future President Abraham Lincoln, designed a flag with a grizzly bear. William Todd. And a grizzly bear and a star on it. Beneath them were the words California Republic. The rebels raised the bear flag in front of Vallejo's house. The Mexican-American War. Send a message today and someone gets it right away. Things were quite different in the 1800s. Messages traveled by land or sea, so people usually did not get them for weeks. That is just what happened to the Bear Flag rebels. When they declared California independence from Mexico, they had not heard an important piece of news. Mexico and the U.S. were at war. The two countries had been threatening each other for years. Both countries wanted the land that would become the Western United States. In May 1846, they finally declared war. Back in Sonoma, the California Republic now had a president, William VID. But on July 11, U.S. Army Captain John C. Fremont marched in and took control. Down came the bear flag, and up went the U.S. flag. The U.S. Army captain. The California Republic had existed for less than a month. The philosophy known as Manifest Destiny took over. Manifest Destiny is the belief that the United States had the right to expand across the North American continent regardless of who might already be there. This belief was used by the U.S. government to justify taking Western lands from Native peoples and from European control. Pros are John L. Sullivan coined the phrase Manifest Destiny when he presented a defense for America's never-ending claim to new territory. In 1845, he wrote about the right of our manifest destiny to overspread and to possess the whole of the continent which Providence has given us for the development of the great experiment of liberty and federated state self-government entrusted to us. And the con of Manifest Destiny. In 1837, William E. Channing wrote, "We are a restless people. We are prone to encroachment, impatient of the ordinary laws of progress. We boast of our rapid growth, forgetting that throughout nature noble growths are slow. It is full time that we should lay on ourselves serious, resolute restraint. Possessed of a domain vast enough for the growth of the ages, it is time for us to stop in the career of acquisition and conquest." Okay, we're gonna pause here. So thank you guys. My page is facebook.com/yosallplay, YOSALLPLAY. And this is called California.